Hey guys, so today I'm here with the Barricade Extreme HD front bumper and winch combo, fitting all 2018 and up JL Wranglers. So adding a front bumper and a winch to your Wrangler can offer you a number of different benefits by adding utility as well as form. This is going to give you a very aggressive look, but it's also going to come with a number of different benefits, like full front end protection. You do get some grille protection up top, as well as some recovery points, and obviously a winch plate. Now, speaking about the winch for a second, this is going to be a 9,500 pound pulling capacity winch. This is going to be perfect for those Wranglers that are light to moderately armored, and it's definitely going to help you out whenever you get into a sticky situation on the trail. This also has a synthetic line for someone who's looking for a safer option to a steel cable. Now, it is going to require a little bit of maintenance, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. So this combo together is going to cost you roughly $850, and in my personal opinion, for what you're getting here, that's definitely a good deal. So taking a step back, if we look at winches and bumpers separately, they both can range anywhere from $250 all the way up to $1,000. So both of these in that price point, you're getting your money's worth. So as far as comparing this combo option to other options on the combo page, this is going to be a little bit higher price. Now there's a couple of reasons behind that. So first of all, the synthetic line, that's obviously going to jump the price up a little bit just because of the materials used. And this is also a full width front bumper, so you are getting a little bit more out of this than you would see with those more basic options. Now, if you're looking to keep it on a budget, you don't need all of the bells and whistles, you don't need all of those features. Those are definitely great options to take a look at. But if you're looking for an everything in one package and a one-stop shop, this is going to be the combo for you. So install is going to be a pretty easy 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. It's probably going to take you about 2 hours to get the job done in your driveway with a couple of basic hand tools. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that now. The tools that I used for my install were trim removal tools, needle nose pliers, a 10-inch and 3-inch extension, an assortment of flathead screwdrivers, a Phillips head screwdriver, a 1/4-inch drive ratchet and a 3/8-inch drive ratchet, a 17mm wrench, a T20 Torx bit, a 7mm, 8mm, 10mm, 12mm, and 18mm deep socket, a 13mm, 14mm, and 16mm shallow socket, a 16mm swivel, and an impact wrench. So to kick off this install, we will need to take off our upper splash guard, so you're going to need a flathead screwdriver or a trim removal tool, as well as a 7mm socket. So you're going to have 8 pop clips holding the top splash guard on. We can go ahead and remove those with a flathead screwdriver. You can also use a trim removal tool, however, I feel like a flathead screwdriver is a lot easier. Dependent on your model, you may have a screw holding on the back of the splash guard here. I'm going to remove it with a 7mm socket. Then you can do the same thing on the other side. Now we can remove this top piece and move on to our bottom splash guard. So what we can do next on our bottom splash guard is remove the 8 clips that are holding it on. So I'm going to use a trim removal tool and start with the farthest one out. Now depending on if you have a trim piece here, this will differ. But it will still be in the same location. You're just going to have this in the way. Now we can continue down the line. So now we can take an 8mm socket and remove the screw that is holding on our splash guard. Once that's removed, we can fully remove our splash guard. So what I like to do at this point is to take off this skid plate here. This just gives you more room to work with. You don't necessarily have to take this off, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that with a 16mm socket. Once those 2 bolts are removed, you can slide it up and take it out. So now with an 18mm deep socket as well as a 3-inch extension and a ratchet, I'm going to go ahead and remove the nuts that are on either side of both of the frame horns. So you're going to have 4 studs, 2 on the inner and 2 on the outer on each frame. So once all of those 8 nuts are removed, we can go ahead and remove our bumper. So because our new bumper does have cutouts to swap over our factory fog lights, we do have to take out the fog lights as well as our factory wiring harness. So we're going to go ahead and break down this bumper. You will need a 7mm socket, a trim removal tool, as well as a 13mm socket. So this breakdown of the bumper will depend on the model you have. Our specific model will have the plastic trim pieces, so we do need to remove 5 bolts out of each plastic trim piece. I'm going to be using a 7mm socket. So what we have to do now is take off this inner crash bar to expose our harness. So we will have to take off the 4 13mm bolts on each side. So I'm just gonna use my impact wrench, a 13mm socket, and a 3-inch extension to do that. Same thing on the other side. So what we can do next is take a trim removal tool and we can take out all of the clips that are holding in our wiring harness. After all the clips are out, we can go ahead and disconnect our harness from our fog light. And then you can grab a T20 Torx bit to fully remove our fog light. So I would like to point out, if you are the owner of a Sport Model JL, you will have to outsource for fog lights if you are looking to keep the fog light feature. Now there are cutouts in our new bumper in order to swap over your factory fog lights. However, the Sport model does not have the same housing and the same bolt pattern as the Sahara and the Rubicon, which is 4 bolts in comparison to the Sport, which is 3. So I would recommend to outsource for those, and we offer a number of different options on our site. So enough about these, let's go install our new bumper. So before we go ahead and put together our new bumper, I did want to show you guys side by side in comparison to our factory front bumper, what benefits that you're getting out of this new one. So right off the bat, you can tell that your factory front bumper is plastic with a standard steel crash bar in the back. This one is going to be a lot more durable than that, made of a heavy-duty plated steel, and it's also got a two-stage black texture powder coat finish on it, and that's going to resist any rust or corrosion on the metal underneath, and it's also going to achieve an off-road and aggressive look that you may be looking for out of the front end of your JL. Now you're also getting a number of different benefits that are pretty standard out of a heavy-duty front bumper, but they're going to be a lot more beneficial in comparison to your factory front bumper. Now first off, you have this overrider feature. This is going to provide you a lot of grille protection, as to where your factory bumper is not going to give you any grille protection at all, and you definitely want that on your brand new JL. Now you're also going to have a couple of light mounting tabs up top, or accessory mounting tabs, to mount up whatever you want, and you also are able to swap over the factory fog lights. So I would like to mention though, for the sport model JLs, the factory fog lights are not going to be compatible. However, we do offer a number of different options on our site. Now you also are getting a winch plate with this, and I will tell you about the winch that comes with this in just a moment, but considering the factory bumper does not come with one, I didn't think that that would be a fair comparison. Now you also are getting a couple of D-ring mounts. Those are going to be welded on the front, and they're going to make for a safer as well as a more reliable recovery point rather than your factory tow hooks. So enough about these two bumpers side by side, let's go put together our new one. So what we can do now is install our fog lights. You will be provided with some hardware in order to do so. You will have a couple of plastic clips that we're going to install inside of the mounting points, and then you also will be provided with some screws. So before we go ahead and put on our fog lights, we are going to install our little plastic retainers. We can put our fog light in place. Grab our screws as well as a Phillips head screwdriver. We can go ahead and screw that in. So after those are secured, we can do the same thing on the other side. So now we can go ahead and plug in our factory wiring harness. Now you will make sure that your gray connector is on the passenger side. We're not going to do anything with that just yet. We just want to make sure that this is on. So before we go ahead and install our front bumper onto our Wrangler, I did want to go ahead and put our winch together. Now this is going to be the Barricade 9,500 pound winch with a synthetic line, and I personally like this winch because of a couple of different reasons. Now when it comes to choosing winches, there are a number of different options between pulling capacities, solenoids, as well as the line that comes on the winch. Now this is going to come with a synthetic line, and in my personal opinion, I do like a synthetic line a lot more than a steel cable, and there's a couple of different reasons why. Now first off, it is a lot safer. Now a synthetic line is not going to store energy under load, so if you get into a sticky situation on the trail, you end up using your winch and the line snaps, it is just going to fall to the ground. Now otherwise with a steel cable, it will store that energy and it could lash back, which is pretty dangerous, and I definitely recommend synth for that reason. Now this is going to require a little bit more maintenance and it is going to be a little bit more expensive. However, I think for safety that it is worth that price, and it does even come with a cover, so you are covered there. Now as far as pulling capacity goes, the basic rule of thumb is just to choose a pulling capacity that's 1.5 times the gross weight of your loaded Jeep. So this is going to be perfect for the light to moderately armored Wrangler. So now we can go ahead and install our solenoid. So what we're going to do is place the solenoid on top. You are going to have 2 Phillips head screws on the back to keep that in place. Now we are just going to thread those in so it's not going to lift off, but we're not going to tighten everything down just yet. So now you're going to have a couple of leads coming off of your solenoid. First off, you have this large red wire. This is going to be connected to your battery. You're also going to have a yellow lead, a red lead, and a black lead. These are going to be the small leads that go to the top studs on top of your winch. Then you also are going to have a black wire. This is going to be separate. There is a stud on the bottom here. It's going to be connected to this terminal as well as your negative battery terminal. So let's go ahead and thread these on. You're going to have 2 flat washers and a nut, and they will be color coded. What you can do now is take a 14mm socket. We're going to tighten these down, but make sure that you're not over tightening so you do not mess up the terminal. Just want to make sure that you have a good sturdy connection. Now you can place these covers over. Flip our winch backwards and connect our negative terminal for our battery. This is going to be the same as our top ones. However, you are going to have a lock washer with this, and you also are going to have a ground for your solenoid. It's going to be this small black wire. We are going to connect it to the bottom of our winch. That's going to be the same 14mm socket. Tighten that down. So what we can do now is just tighten down these screws that are holding on our solenoid. And this is just going to prevent it from coming off. So what we can go ahead and do now is attach our fairlead mount. You will have the provided bolts with your winch. Now we can go ahead and tighten them down with a 17mm wrench and a 16mm socket. So after we have our fairlead mounted up to the front of our bumper, what we can do is mount our bumper on our JL. Now that our bumper is on, we need to secure it down. You're going to use the provided flat washers, lock washers, and nut. So once those are on, we can go ahead and snug those up. You want to make sure that you tighten everything down at the end, just to make sure everything is fitting properly. Now we can move to the inside. We're going to use the same 18mm deep socket as well as a small extension to go ahead and snug those up. Now you can do the same thing on the other side. So once all your bolts are on, we can go ahead and tighten them all down. So before we put our winch down to be mounted up, we do need to put our captured nuts inside of our posts here. This is how we're going to secure it down to our winch plate. After those are in there, we can mount up our winch. Now we can grab our provided hardware and a 16mm swivel socket, an extension, and a ratchet, and tighten everything down. So now we can attach our bolts underneath through our winch plate. Now using a 16mm swivel socket, an extension, and a ratchet, I'm just going to go ahead and tighten down those bolts. I would recommend to make sure all 4 bolts are in before you go ahead and tighten anything down, just to make sure everything lines up. Now you don't need an extension this long, I just wanted a little bit of room to work with. All right, you can do the same thing on the other side of the winch, and now we can go attach it to our battery. So what we can do at this point is feed our positive wire as well as our negative wire behind our grill and connect them to our battery. So you will have a little pocket here behind your inner fender liner where you can just feed the wire up through. I already started this one, but I'll show you where the positive one goes in just a second. As you can tell, if you pull this lining back, you'll be able to finagle that through. Same thing for the positive. So now we can attach our leads to our battery terminals. You are going to need a 12mm socket to take off the accessory nut. We'll start with our positive. So now for the negative terminal, you can use a 10mm socket. So after those are attached, we can place the wiring above our air box here and close up our hood. Now we can attach our D-rings, plug in our fog lights, and connect our hook. Now we can make sure to plug in our fog light. Now we can grab our D-rings and attach those. So what I'm going to do now is put our winch on free spool so we can pull our line through. We do need to attach our hook. So once our line's through, we can grab our hook, grab a pair of needle nose pliers, pull out the pin, put it through, reinstall our pin, bend it back so it doesn't come off, and we can attach it to our D-ring and re-engage our winch. So that's gonna wrap it up for my review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe, and for more videos like this, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.